They said he told his friend he was just going to the shop, she continued, which was just 2 minutes from the hotel where they were staying. That was 3 days ago. Before you say anything, the first place I checked was my ex-husband. I mean, the asshole's never had anything to do with his son in 10 years. But I thought, that maybe someone could have taken Josh to get back at him. But he knew nothing about it, and didn't even care. What sort of man doesn't care that their own flesh and blood is missing? Cohen knew Trenton was a cold-hearted bastard, but that was something even he didn't expect to hear. I've spoken to the school and the Prague police and Scotland Yard, and everyone's doing what they can, so they tell me, she said, not believing the statement. I can't just sit around and wait for these people. Look, I can pay you, I have some savings, and I can get more if you need it. You know I can. What is it you think I can do for you, Leanie? Find my son, she exasperated. Why the hell do you think I sat here all night making sure you didn't choke on your own vomit? Because I give a shit about you. I'm here for him. I shut the door on this life a long time ago and swore I'd never return. But my son needs me. He needs you, Cohen. The old you. The one that helped put his father where he is today. Her words triggered fragments of memories that Cohen had been desperately hoping wouldn't surface so quickly. A tear falling as light faded from the eyes of an innocent man. Sadness on the face of Christ looking down upon the moment from a cross that hung overhead. The backdrop of a magnificent stained glass window, and crashing to his knees with a blood-curdling scream that would peel a layer of skin from his throat. But there was something else, a detail he hadn't recalled or remembered. The smell of incense. The memory was so powerful it was almost as if he could smell it right there in the room. Leanie watched him, as she had done all night, seeing only torment. I don't know what happened to you, she said. If we're being honest, I really don't care. But something for nothing. You won't find redemption at the bottom of a bottle, Cohen. That much I do know. His stare snapped to her unnervingly as though she had read his thoughts. You think you're the only one who ever had an awakening? She continued, unable to recognize the person staring back at you in the mirror. You should just be grateful you found your conscience. Her thought brought a softening expression as if she was staring into the face of her child. I suppose I was lucky. Josh was my conscience. When he was born, it changed everything. In an instant, the world became a different place. Suddenly, there was love in it. That was the moment I think I finally understood what unconditional truly meant. He was innocent, and I wasn't going to allow him to become a part of our world, a place where hope goes to die. I couldn't have him turn out like his father, like you, like me. I wanted to give him a chance, and I never looked back. She realized Cohen wasn't just listening, but studying her, and quickly adopted her previous hardened expression. How many times were you paid to end someone's life? I'm only asking you to save one. You want redemption, then use what you have to protect those that can't protect themselves. Leanie could see her pleas had been unable to penetrate Cohen's unwavering coldness. As hope faded, her steely reserve started to crack under the pressure. Please, Cohen, she whimpered almost inaudibly as tears began falling. I'm begging you. An interruption of keys jingling in the lock brought a pause to the conversation. But for Leanie it brought the urgency for an answer. It was 6:55 a.m. and this time Nathan had arrived. The calm and quiet of the morning was suddenly at its end as he bumped and crashed awkwardly through the door, struggling to remove the key from the lock while holding 2 cups of takeaway coffee, one on top of the other. Wedged under his chin were 2 pastry bags, a folded newspaper under his arm, and the strap of his shoulder bag, slipping into the crux of his elbow that he had to raise to stop it dragging across the floor, eventually nudging the door closed with his bottom. Ah, damn it, Nathan blurted as a few drops of beverage shot out of the lid and onto his shirt, unaware he had company. Quickly wiping away any evidence of emotion with the palms of her hands, Leanie edged the photograph expectantly towards Cohen, her stare demanding an answer, one way or another. There were few times in life when you were consciously aware that the decision laying in front of you wasn't just pivotal, but for better or worse would change everything. Cohen didn't know why, but this was that moment. Suddenly he felt extremely sober. Eventually a faint and reluctant nod of acceptance was met with a contained gasp. Unable to bring herself to speak, Leanie could only return the gesture with overwhelming appreciation. Tears glistened in her eyes. He had given her a lifeline, hope if nothing else. She reached across and placed a grateful hand onto his, rough and scarred. Hers was delicate and warm. It had been a long time since he last felt the touch of a woman. "Oh, good morning," Nathan said, seeing the two silhouetted figures in the rear workspace, in what could only be described as a moment of intimacy. "Good morning," Leanie replied, quickly retracting her hand. "Sorry, I didn't realize we had company, or that he was even alive," Nathan jested. "He's alive," she replied playfully. "Well, breathing at least." Cohen ignored their polite dance of introduction, just relieved there was someone else to do the talking. He picked up the picture and stared at the boy, committing as much information to memory as he could. There was a number on the reverse written with a black marker, which he assumed was Leanie's number in anticipation of him accepting the job. "Sorry, would you like a coffee? Filter or flat white?" Nathan said, holding out the 2 takeaway cups on offer. "No, that's okay, thank you. I really must be going." "Not on my account, I hope." No, I really must be getting on," she said. "Sorry." He put the coffees and pastry bag onto the workbench, wiped his moist hand onto his shirt and offered it in polite introduction. "Nathan," he said. As Leanie shook his hand, he couldn't help notice the familiar hooded sweat top she was wearing. "Leanie," she replied. "Anyway, I'm sure you boys have plenty to do before you open, so I'm gonna—" She gave an awkward hitchhiking gesture with both thumbs towards the door. They both looked to Cohen for a reaction, but his attention was still firmly on the picture of Josh. Nathan cleared his throat in the temporary silence to grab his attention. He looked up. "Leanie's going," Nathan said, like he was prompting a child to say goodbye. "Okay." "It was very nice to meet you," Nathan continued, almost as an apology for his friend's behavior, as he unlocked the door for her. "It was a pleasure. Good luck," she replied playfully before turning to leave. "Oh," she stopped at the door. "I'll wash this and get it back to you," referring to the hooded sweat top. Cohen didn't bother to look up. She shared one last awkward smile with Nathan and was gone. Nathan's smile lingered for several reasons as he watched Leanie walking away from the shop. Some were more on the playful and juvenile end of the spectrum, imagining how he would use the encounter to tease and joke at Cohen's expense, but mainly because it was good to see his friend up and about again. For a time he wasn't sure if he'd be able to find his way back from whatever hell he had found himself in, and although he wasn't exactly his old self, there was a glimmer, and for now, that was enough. As Nathan went to lock the door, he noticed a young priest on the opposite side of the road, paying more than an inquiring look at the shop. When he realized Nathan had seen him, he turned and walked away without looking back. Weird, Nathan thought. "Another black water," he said, always finding new and unusual ways to describe coffee. Taking the space Leanie occupied, he passed over the filter coffee and pastry, curiously eyeing the photograph of the young boy and his friend's attention of it. Eventually putting the picture to one side, the two sat and enjoyed their breakfasts, Cohen taking a little more time on this one than the last. There was a comfortability in the quietude that spoke volumes of their bond, neither one desperate for conversation, both able to appreciate the fleeting opportunity that happened in between the moments when life didn't. After several minutes of silence, Nathan finally asked, "Who's the boy?" "Leanie's son," Cohen said, returning his attention to the photograph. "He's missing." "Oh, I see. And I suppose she wants you to find him, does she?" Cohen nodded with a hesitation of uncertainty over his decision. "And you told her no, right?" He continued, focusing on the picture. "Cohen, please tell me you told the pretty lady no." Silence. "Are you fucking kidding me? How many different ways of messed up do you want me to tell you this is?" "Don't," Cohen gently warned. "Don't. You're an assassin. You kill people. You don't find little boys for their mummies." Cohen snatched up the picture and headed for the stairs back to the flat. "And what happens when the thirst takes you over?" he continued. "What then? You can't even find your way home half the time. How do you expect to find some kid?" "You do know you've compromised us," Nathan said. Cohen stopped at the foot of the stairs, unable to face his friend. "I know." Nathan stared at Cohen, motionless at the foot of the stairs, eventually expelling a deflating sigh, saying, "Fine. I'll make some calls." Stating the bloody obvious felt like a waste of breath. He knew if Cohen had said yes, then it was as good as signing on the dotted line. Honor and discipline were once the bedrock of his way of life, and while the foundations may have cracked, they hadn't altogether disappeared. Cohen's barely faint nod conveyed more than appreciation, but right now it was all he could offer. He was about to leave when Nathan said, "What about Leanie?" Cohen looked at the shop. He loved this old place. "See if you can scout a few locations," he said. "We'll look at it when I get back." Nathan stood watching his friend slowly climb the stairs, every painstaking step until he was completely out of sight.